All right, a nurse in Monroe is suing Novant Health because of their flu vaccine mandate. Court documents show registered nurse Kristen Matthews is now accused of hospital chain of failing to be able to accommodate her religious beliefs. And she claims that her Christian faith prevents her from getting the flu vaccine, calling it a natural substance. She says it resulted in her suspension and eventual termination. So we reached out to Novant for comment, but in a statement, they said they will not share details about pending litigation. All right, let's bring in Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to talk about all this. Khalif, so we saw several lawsuits like this when we had COVID-19. And I really want to say, when that mandate started, how does this kind of compare to that?
Well, this is connected to that. If you look at this, looking at the complaint, 15-page complaint, they mentioned that she had history before in the past with submitting an exemption to their policy with COVID, requiring that they take the COVID shot, and they approved her exemption. This case is probably a mixed bag of issues and concerns, and probably the worst case scenario for Novant when you have a situation in terms of trying to defend this, because specifically a lot of things were missed when I look at the complaint. She was out on FMLA taking care of her father at the time in New York, didn't have her computer with her. So when she requested this exemption, they responded to her personal email. At some point, while still out on FMLA, her supervisor calls her and says, "Hey, have you got your shot like you're supposed to?" She's like, "What are you talking about? I requested an exemption." They forwarded the email, let her know that it was declined. She submitted an appeal. After she submitted the appeal, they denied her appeal and sent it back to her email again. So she never was able to respond. And then at some point, they terminated her a few days after she got back. This whole process was a kind of a cluster in terms of the best practices for how you want to respond in situations like that. Because first, you're not supposed to communicate with a person when they're on FMLA. Okay. Second, sending it to her personal email, her work email, when you know she's not there, isn't going to give her an opportunity to properly respond. So you were setting her up to fail.
So my question for you is, when I was doing research on this lawsuit here, does it matter what her religion is, because she's saying that it's because of her Christian faith?
I like that question for sure. So in law school, we talk about these types of cases a lot. And so the first thing I could say is, when you're talking about a protected class, and religion is a protected class, the law specifically says it doesn't have to be a well-known religion. It doesn't have to be a religion that you believe in or understand. It doesn't have to be a religion that has a lot of members. It could be a religion that you made up. The key word is that you truly and strongly believe the tenets of this religion. And if it is strongly and truly believed to you, something that you sincerely hold as a religion, then yes, it has to be upheld and it has to be protected. And the words you mentioned in the open, accommodations have to be made. In this case, accommodations would be allowing me to go around your flu vaccine requirement because I have a conviction or a strongly held belief that this goes against my religion. In her case, it wasn't a religion that was something that she made up. It was a Christian religion that she believed in, and she wrote it in her example, and she wrote it in her appeal, and they denied it and didn't give her a reason why. They just blanketly denied it.
Sounds like she needs to call you.
Well,
my question for you, though, we'll get to this, though. Does she have a case, and what could the outcome be?
Well, great question. I think that she definitely has a case. This went before the EOC. EOC makes a determination, and there they think we have a case. So they allowed her to go to conciliation, which is like a mediation. That's a recommendation. She doesn't have to go. The company doesn't have to go. Ultimately, they didn't go. So now she's at the point where she's bringing a lawsuit and she's suing them. I think she has teeth to her case because it has to be a light or a very undue burden on the plaintiff, for the defendant, for them to say, we can't do what you're asking.
I got you.
It wouldn't have been hard for them to allow her to do that. And in this case, they didn't. They didn't even give her a response.
All right, Khalif Rhodes, appreciate your insight as always.